Hey Fish Fam! So I've got a bit of an odd project. It wasn't really a planned thing. If you've been on the channel for a while, you might remember this tank. It's one that I picked up in the middle of nowhere for basically nothing, had to refurbish. And that tank has worked really well for a really long time, but a little while ago I was shuffling large lava rocks around from one tank to another, trying to make sure they'd stay wet to keep the culture active in them. And I started putting them all in this tank just so that they would stay wet, and I wedged one wrong, and it moved a large piece of driftwood and cracked the back of the tank. Now, sheets of glass that large are pricey, but I had stuff to keep in there. I wanted to keep the tank going. I had plans for it, so I went out and I got another 7-foot by 24-inch by half-inch sheet of glass. And I brought it back, and I went ahead and disassembled the tank so that I could put the new one in, and one of the side panels cracked. Now, I don't really want to spend more money on that tank, so what I did instead was I went ahead and tore the whole thing down just so that I could keep the large panels, and I decided to use one of the panels in this tank here. This is a 90-inch by 24-inch by 34-inch tank, which is about 315 gallons. And you can see it's about half full right now, and that's because I've got some mangroves planted in it. I'm giving them a little bit of time to root, hopefully to grow tall enough to get out of the top of the tank so that I can go ahead and fill it up and start adding other things. Long term, this tank is probably going to be for Paratilapia polani and Cuban cichlids. I'm not 100% certain that they will get along, so I'm going to have to try to find some more research. There's not a whole lot of information on Paratilapia. So if anybody has any experience with them and with compatibility with other fish, you know, drop a comment. But it's at the point now that I've done the fill-in. I've got some plants in here. I've got the gravel going. I'm going to let it sit for a month or two to let everything kind of grow in and solidify. Make sure the culture's nice and active. Make sure I have some nice fungus layers going through the actual gravel and everything before I start adding plants and fish. I'll do an update on that later. This video is just basically the build process for what this was. Pretty simple. Not a complete video, not a complete tank, but for people who enjoy watching that sort of thing, there you go. It's important if you're building a tank stand to build it where it's going to be. So you can see here, on this side of the stand, there is a very good lineup between the two pieces of wood here. And as you move this way, by the time I've gotten to this side, there's a good 3/4 of an inch gap here. And the reason for this gap is that the floor itself is not level here. So while I'm able to level the top of this wood, I can't do anything about the floor. Building this in place guarantees that I'm going to have a level surface on my tank stand. For sealing this, I'm doing something a little bit experimental. I'm using Kemiko industrial waterbourne. This is not something that is suggested for underwater use. It is certified for up to 3 days underwater. It is certified for incidental food contact. So I don't know that this is something that I would say absolutely go do. I'm going to run a test with this tank doing it. I've got a couple patch spots in another tank. They're doing okay. and it's been a few months and I haven't had any issues, so I feel like it's safe to use it here. That's real helpful. You need to come closer to make that noise so that the microphone can pick it up.
No thanks.
Because I'm going to leave this part in the video, and it's going to be really confusing for people to have no idea what I'm talking about.
What if I came over here and gave you a taste of the batter?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to leave that in the video too, though.
Here, try that.
Salmonella. I'm not going to recommend that you use this. This is not me saying, hey, this is a great thing to use. This is me running a test where if it fails, it's my building and it's my money going into it. But the patches that I've used with it so far have held well enough that I'm comfortable running a larger test with it. I have to do that because 2 feet this direction are all of my wife's breeder rats and everything, and it's currently snowing outside, so I can't take this outside and use my normal, well-known, known to be safe, known to stand up for a long time epoxies, so this is a good excuse to use it. It's lower odor than latex paint. That's nice. It goes on really smoothly. I've been using it for the floor in the fish room back here. I really like the way it works. It's got a really nice gloss to it. I think the floor, once we wax it, will be absolutely perfect, beautiful. This, I don't know if I'm going to keep the black or if I'm going to do a top coat with something else at this point, because this tank is probably going to be Paratilapia polani and Cuban cichlids. And I don't know if a black tank is going to work well with black fish. It might be really cool, or it might be tacky and weird. I have no idea. At this point, I haven't really decided. This is just so I can get it started and keep going.